Hello, welcome to another edition of Crop Life Retail Week. I'm Eric Sfiligoj, editor, Crop Life Iron, here again with Lara Sowinski, nestled in the cornfield, apparently. How you doing, Laura?
Yeah, I just realized that I am in the cornfield and not in my home office, but maybe the cornfield is now my home office, but I'm
Well,
doing
again, yeah, and as long as we're not going back to the old Twilight Zone episodes, and I don't know if you remember the one about the little 5-year-old boy who was like had godlike powers, and whenever he was mad at someone, he would wish them into the cornfield, which was a nice euphemism for having killed them. So
fine.
you being as long as you're not wished into the cornfield, I think you're fine, Laura.
Well, good. Well, I see you're back home. You've had some travels.
Right,
That
but before we get to our travels, we both were on the road this week. But before we get to that, we do have some very important news to share. Again, last few weeks, of course, we've been following this whole ruling by a federal court in Arizona against Dicamba, and basically ended up canceling the registration for Dicamba for from this point going forward. And there was a lot of hand wringing, and people were saying, "Hey, wait a minute, we've already purchased dicamba. We have it in our warehouses. Growers are, probably already purchased the seed for dicamba tolerant crops." And what was going to happen with all that? Well, we did get some clarification on that from our friends at EPA. They basically put out a notice to everyone saying that any stocks that were quote unquote packaged, labeled, and released for shipment prior to February 6th, which is when the ruling went down,
good.
if those items are out there already in warehouses or in storerooms, that they can be utilized for the 2024 growing season. So again, that answers a really, really big question that everyone in ag retail and the grower community had regarding if dicamba could be used. It can for this year, and I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens come 2025's growing season and what may happen in the interim with maybe a re-registration or some other type of way to get the dicamba back into the marketplace. But for this year, at least, if that product was already purchased and it's out there, it can be used. So, that is very, very good news for our viewers and readers.
Right. Um, do you have any sense what the future is going to hold with regards to dicamba? Any word on the street or in the cornfield, as it were?
No, yeah, as it were. Yeah, no, actually, at the event I was at, there was not much discussion about dicamba other than that folks anticipate that some type of a new registration might be worked on. But again, the last time this type of situation happened, EPA made a re-registration in a couple of months' time. And it sounds like, based on the fact that, that the same factors kind of led to this ruling, that, it was that the decision was made hastily, that the timing on this might go a little longer. So it could very well, if I had to guess, I suspect maybe we'll spill into the fall before we get some definitive, clear idea of what kind of direction everything's heading. So we'll see what happens. But again, as developments occur, as things happen, we will report it to our viewers here on Crop Life Retail Week.
Cool. Right.
Yeah, so as I said, we were both on the road this week. We'll get to your trip in a moment. But for me, I was at the biggest, I think, claims to be the biggest indoor farm show in North America, the National Farm Machinery Show that takes place in Louisville, Kentucky. This is a huge event, over 1 million square feet of exhibit space, 800 exhibitors from all parts of the agricultural world. About 300,000 attendees over the course of this 4-day event, brings in about $25 million to the local Louisville economy as people stream into town and fill up hotel rooms and eat at restaurants. And I got to say, this show starting on Valentine's Day, which was also Ash Wednesday, and the first day of the event, dinner reservations, let's say, were very impossible to come by. But luckily, some of the hotels where people stay do serve food, so we were we were okay. We just had to kind of eat a little earlier in the day. That's how we kind of got around the Valentine's couples and Ash Wednesday celebrations going on around the town. But the event itself was very interesting, Laura. There was a lot of equipment there that ag retailers would find interesting: sprayers, tenders, spreaders. It's nothing that we haven't already seen, though. A lot of the folks I was talking to at this event said that, the exhibitors at this event kind of, quote unquote, use it as a placeholder. They bring the stuff they already have on hand that's ready to be sold immediately, if need be, to this event. And that the event we're going to be attending in a few weeks, Commodity Classic, taking place in Houston, is where a lot of the equipment manufacturers and the tech people will have their new stuff, which they're getting ready to launch for the upcoming season. So, yeah, like I said, and I'm sure as I was talking, some pictures that I took at the event were going across the screen. So hopefully folks got a flavor, at least, for what went on in Louisville, Kentucky at the National Farm Machinery Show. And by the way, this was the 58th annual event. That show's taking place. So, and I guess while I was in Louisville enjoying lots of biscuits, gravy, bourbon, chicken, and waffles, you were in Iowa, I suppose, with maybe some corn-based liqueur, right?
I was. And in fact, it was unusually warm, which for me, that was one of the most important aspects. It was great. This was the Agribusiness Association of Iowa, their showcase event. And it was my first time attending. It was great. Obviously, it was the group itself. I have to say they were just very. You felt the loss of Bill. Let me just say it that way. Bill North, as we know, who unexpectedly passed a couple of weeks ago. They had a beautiful photo of Bill when you came in, and we were all just very mindful, of how much. In fact, I don't mind sharing that one of the staff members of AAI said, I had kind of lost my luster and excitement for ag, and she was saying, it was kind of a job, it was whatever. But when Bill came along and took over, and my excitement and appreciation, it was restored, and he had done so much for us in such a short amount of time. And I thought that was just a really nice thing to hear, just really the personal part of it. So as mentioned, we presented a drone panel. I was lucky to have, 3 excellent folks on my panel. Adam Gittens from HTS Ag, Brady Eilers from Rantizo, and Matt Kessel from Terraplex. Our room where we presented the panel was pretty full. We had a good turnout. Not only good topics, but a lot of good questions from the audience for the 3 guys on my panel. We, talked about, of course, rules and regs, still a big part of the discussion around drones, what's possible, what's allowed, what's changing, what still hasn't been determined, that type of thing. We talked, about the payload and battery life, things that are happening on that front, what's coming up at, the next 12 to 18 months. We talked about drones from China and what that looks like, which coincidentally, one of my ambassadors from Women in Ag Tech had sent a news item to me a couple weeks ago regarding kind of security concerns, if you will, regarding drones made in China. So we had a robust discussion around that, which was great. We also talked about one of the questions from the audience I thought was a great one. The gentleman asked about the insurance policy. Okay, we buy drones, we're going to incorporate them into our program here. Does our existing insurance cover that? If not, what does that look like? And so Adam talked a lot about working with the insurance company and if you have to put a rider onto your existing policy, et cetera. So some good questions around that. So all in all, we had a really great discussion. First time again for me, so it was great. Huge show, a lot of exhibitors packed in there, so time well spent.
And before you go on, I mean, I'll mention, I had forgot to say it, but at the National Farm Machinery Show, drones were very, very present as well. I know the main exhibit hall did not have many drone manufacturers in it, but there's like 4 halls in that make up that complex. And if you went out of the main hall into like the secondary halls that where some of the smaller exhibitors actually are located, there were dozens of not only drone manufacturers, which was kind of interesting, but there were like I guess you'd call them entrepreneurs or dealers, equipment dealers that were telling the visitors at the Louisville show, like, hey, we now are into the drone market. If you want to use drones in your operation, talk to us. We've got the fleet of drones and we've got the operators. We can take care of you. So, and I know that's a trend we kind of heard about when we were at the Agricultural Retailers Association meeting last year. Retailers were saying rather than having their own drones, their own operators, that they were hiring individuals to do that business for them. And it sounds like that's kind of becoming a new trend in the marketplace. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. Needless to say, well, in fact, Adam Gittens from HTS Ag, we, got to talking as well about Tech Hub Live and drone programming and topics that will be included for Tech Hub Live coming up July 29th through 31st in Des Moines. So, in fact, we are right in the midst of planning Tech Hub Live. We're off to a great start. So don't forget that. We were pitching the Vision Conference, in recent months, and now we're full force turning towards Tech Hub Live. So
yeah,
lots to work on there.
Very good. So hey, I guess since you're sitting in a cornfield, picture-wise, you had one other tidbit to share before we jump to our final part of the program. So if you wanted to enlighten our viewers on what you've heard from the government regarding the outlook for agriculture.
Yeah, it was just news from this week. The 100th Annual Agricultural Outlook Forum took place this week. So just some real quick takeaways. I know it's, we've mentioned the last couple times the USDA's planting intentions report. We're eagerly awaiting that, which I believe you mentioned is like mid-March or thereabouts. When that
thereabouts. It's usually just after Commodity Classic. And I know that if at Commodity Classic, they usually have Tom Vilsack, the Secretary of Ag, as one of the speakers. He usually kind of teases what that report's going to say in his keynote address to the attendees there. So, and I haven't looked to see if he's on the speaking docket again this year or not, but I imagine so. It's been several years since the Secretary of Ag, whoever that person is, has missed the Commodity Classic. So, but we'll get a hint for that and share with our viewers, in early March what we find out regarding that. But anyhow, continue.
Yeah, no, just a couple really quick, high-level takeaways from the Agricultural Outlook Forum. Quick story is higher soybean acres and lower corn and wheat acres are projected for 2024. Prices across the board pretty much near 3-year lows. Other items related to this week that I was following, just we're as far as U.S. ag exports, a lot of increased competition from Brazil. So while China continues to be, the top buyer for U.S. ag, we're losing some business, if you will, to Brazil. So that coupled with the strong U.S. dollar, which is bringing in a lot more foreign ag imports, strong dollar, it's, good for us. It's kind of skewing the import and export trade, not only the volumes, but certainly the values. But I thought that was something to keep our eye on. I think for me, I'm always looking at the supply chain part of it. So also started to think about, this year, what types of disruptions, as we've talked about last year, whether it's water levels on the Mississippi, weather, what things, might we be looking at again this year, what things are maybe becoming the new normal that we need to kind of factor in, if you will, going forward. Anyway, just kind of rambling on about the supply chain and big picture trade stuff that I keep my eye on. But yes, in a month from now or less, we'll have that planning intentions report. So we'll be all over that.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting. Like I said, because I know when we did our Crop Life 100 survey, most folks thought that the acreage for corn versus soybean would look very similar to 23. And since we did that survey, of course, which took place tail end of last year, every report I've seen since has sort of hinted less corn, more soybean. So somebody's incorrect, but we'll find out officially, I guess, in a couple of weeks. So we'll keep everyone posted.
Yeah, good deal.
All right. Well, Miss Laura, time for your favorite segment of the show. Time for Fun with Numbers.
Hey, give me a good one, Eric. I'm on a roll.
You were doing 2 weeks in a row, so we'll see if we can extend it to 3. You will detect a common theme in the choices for this week's Fun with Numbers, and the number is a straight number, not a percentage, not a dollar amount. The number is 11,000. 11, 3 zeros. 11,000.
I do know about that comma.
Yeah. Okay. So is 11,000, Laura, is that the number of exhibitors attending the National Farm Machinery Show during the first hour of the event? Okay. Is it B, the number of steps taken by the average National Farm Machinery Show attendee during one day of the event?
Wow.
Is it C, the number of security cameras at the exhibit halls at the National Farm Machinery Show? Or is it D, the number of face licks my dog Lucky gave me when I returned home from the National Farm Machinery Show?
Oh, that's great. I think it could be any of those things.
Yes, it could, but there is only one correct answer. So
I'm going to go with A. Really?
Your streak is over. No, 300,000. The show actually lasts for approximately 32 hours. So 300,000 exhibitors on average. That means you have about 9,300 exhibitors visiting per hour to hit that number. So no, not 11,000. The actual correct answer is B. The number of steps taken by the average attendee at the show in a one-day time frame. And the reason I know that is our own sales rep, Sal Sedicase, has a Fitbit, and it tracks his steps. And at the end of our first day at the event, he had walked 11,000 steps, which equates to 5.5 miles. So,
wow.
Yeah, I know. We got a good workout at this event. And just in case you're wondering, the number of security cameras they have around the hall, 650, which is still an impressive number, but not quite 11,000. So 11,000, they'd be basically seeing every movement by everyone everywhere. And I dread to think if they only had 2 people in the operating room, how they would keep track of 11,000 cameras. 650 sounds pretty formidable as it is, but no, it's the number of steps, Laura. I'm sorry, your streak is over at 2. So.
Well, I thought I was close. Well, I was close, but
you were close. Yeah, like I say, it was about 9,300 was the if you break it down, 300,000, 32 hours, about 9,300 are coming through every hour. So
that's great. Well, good.
All
Look,
right.
my Lucky is ready for 11,000 face licks. So at time in the
All
morning.
right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for this edition of Crop Life Retail Week. On behalf of myself, Laura Sowinski, and everyone at Crop Life, thanks for joining us, and we will see you again next week. If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comment section below. Your feedback is important to us. We will try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.